question for you.
Yes, sir.
I'm a small businessman, and I believe that small business is the backbone of our country and the state of Michigan.
Yeah.
And I got a letter from the Michigan Department of Transportation, a certified letter here a while ago, concerning sign that I have off the highway, secondary highway. It's concerning an off-premise sign, and they want me to remove my sign. And I own the property, and I have two locations. I have one where my business is conducted at my home site, and 5.2 miles away I have another property where I store supplies and stuff.
Yeah.
It's been there 8 years, and I get this certified letter saying that I must remove it. So naturally I called him and then talked to this fella, and he said, no, it's got to be removed. It's an illegal sign. You don't have a permit. And I said, well, how do I get a permit? He said, well, we're not issuing any permits anymore.
Well, that's a little below your pay grade, so to say, but all politics is local.
Absolutely, and we can get you steered in the right direction. But that is a great example, however, of how the government does clearly not understand what it takes to make a business successful. There is no guarantee of a job, and every business person ought to have the ability on their own property to try, within certain guidelines certainly, but to be able to try to promote their business. And we wonder why the state isn't doing well in the last few years.
Sharon in Coldwater, you're in the air at 888-900-9966. Question for Congressman Mike Rogers.
Yes, good morning. The businessman that you have with you this morning was talking in regards. He made a comment with people being on the dole line and that they get awful comfortable. Well, around where we live, something I'm concerned about is people, they've been locked out of their jobs in certain instances maybe for 2 or 3 years. And for right now, they have to count on their unemployment. And they're willing to turn around and they want to go back to work. But then quite often people think they should be satisfied with a minimum wage or close to it instead of something called a living wage. When you have people, it costs money just to get up and go to work. You may have to pay for a babysitter. You have to keep a decent, not a brand new, but maybe a decent car running. Mm-hmm. Then you may have to help pay for a part of your health insurance. And so, we are not against successful business owners. All we're asking for is that they turn around and pay a decent wage. And don't you agree with that? That it costs money just to go to work, and then you have to make some money so you can turn around and pay your bills and so on.
Well, that's what you were talking about earlier.
Absolutely. And I supported, to the chagrin of many, the extension of the unemployment. I thought it was wrong that they didn't pay for it in Washington, D.C., and I told them as much, but I didn't think their incompetence in Washington, D.C. should stand in the way of people paying their light bill and putting food on their table for cases just like you mentioned. But here's the problem. We end up focusing so much on what they should do, we forgot to let them do it. Most businesses want to pay a wage that you can live on. They want to be able to grow. They want to be able to make decisions based on the employees that they have. The more uncertainty and regulation and confusion, and you heard the businessman here who was saying, listen, I just want to make really good pies and pastries, and I'd love to hire more people, and I'd love to grow my business. But the uncertainty that's created with all that means I can't do it. Well, what we're saying is, let him do it. That's a far better program than anything that they can cook up in Washington, D.C., is to let small businesses be small businesses. They've increased, with their health care bill that is going to cost over $1 trillion and isn't paid for. Rules go up, regulations go up, taxes go up, his costs go up. Every part-time employee will have 65% of their health premiums paid for. They can't, if you're selling pies, you can't make it when they impose those kinds of costs on you. So I agree, and that's why I voted to do that. But at the same time, we have got to put a little certainty back in this economy, and that means getting out of the way of these small businesses and let them grow.
By the way, Congressman Rogers later today will be at Emergent Biosolutions Lansing campus, the only licensed anthrax vaccine Biothrax, manufactured right here in the state of Michigan. Susan in Maple Rapids, if you can go real fast, we can try to squeeze one more question in.
Yes, I'm a retired school teacher, recently retired, and I have Blue Cross Blue Shield for the retirees. In their last magazine that goes to all Blue Cross Blue Shield recipients, it says that coverage extends to dependents up to age 26. It doesn't have to depend on their if they're full-time or not.
Yeah, that's a new part of the healthcare legislation, correct?
That is correct. They've extended it to the age of 26 for adults on your policy.
Students
for
come out of
children.
college, they don't have a job, they can remain on their parents'.
For any reason, they can have a job and still
Oh.
be on there. Yeah,
Oh, I see.
There's some little confusion on what that means for cost-wise, but something we should all pay attention to.
Congressman Mike Rogers, thank you so much for the time. Have fun at the anthrax vaccine site. Sounds like a nice lunch trip.
Exactly.
Appreciate it. And he is accessible, as you heard, in his Lansing office and splits time between here and Washington, D.C., where he is a member of the United States Congress. Re-election in 42 days. Congressman Mike Rogers. I'm Michael Patrick Shields. We're back in a flash.